Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Right School Matters podcast, where we dive deep into the world of K-12 education, tackling some of the big questions and critical topics of our nation's schools today. My name is Paul Monaperto, and I am privileged to serve as your host. And so whether you are looking at moving or considering different school options, or simply want to better understand what might be a great educational fit for your child and your family, this podcast can help guide you and empower you, because we believe that when it comes to our children's future, the right school truly matters. This podcast is sponsored by Family to Family Relocation and Real Estate, your experts in both schools and homes. And so their mission is to partner with families looking for great educational options for their kids when relocating to a new area or searching for a new home. And so with that said, on today's episode, we welcome Mrs. Megan Strange from North Cobb Christian School. Megan serves as the upper school principal. Hey, Megan, how are you today?
Hey, doing great, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Good. Awesome. Thank you. I apologize for the behind the scenes tech issues we got through, but I'm glad that we finally are here live and, well, not live, but recording, and an opportunity to talk with you today. And so our conversation today is going to revolve around what North Cobb Christian deems as an authentic Christian education. Mm-hmm. And so I'm really excited about that conversation with you. But before we get to that, I would love for you to share with our listeners and our viewers a little bit about Megan and who you are and your family. And then, of course, a little bit about North Cobb Christian School.
Yeah, would love to. I was born on a Wednesday. I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, and I grew up going to public school, and there were a lot of neat opportunities that I had. I really wasn't particularly aware of Christian school when I was growing up, just due to the nature of where I was. Went off to college at the University of Memphis. Then I moved to Georgia for a position in student ministry here in Ackworth. And it was through my time working at the church that I became aware of North Cobb Christian School, and they began to invite me to be involved with things at the school, with athletics. I spoke in chapel, some of that type of thing. And from that, just the Lord lined some things up, and I was invited to join North Cobb Christian School as the director of student life, overseeing chapels and small groups and community service. I taught Bible. I've taught a variety of things and coached them over the years. And just kind of fast forward 20 years later, I'm the high school principal. If I could say what's most important to me at school, it is about building relationships with our students, with our faculty and staff. As a Christ follower, I want kids to be first and foremost in a relationship with Jesus Christ, but then after that, growing in their relationship with Jesus Christ. And I believe a large part of that spiritual formation is going to come from the relationships they have in their life. And my husband and I have been married for a little over 20 years. We have 2 kids. Our daughter is in the 10th grade here at North Cobb Christian. Our son is in the 6th grade at North Cobb Christian. And both of them are super active in all the things that our school has to offer academically, but also within the arts, athletics, and student life. And then, like probably a lot of other parents who may run across this, our daughter plays travel volleyball. Our son plays travel basketball. And it's a priority for our family to be involved in church. Paul, obviously, that's one area where we know each other. We've got some experience together in education, but we go to church together. And those are priorities for us. And that's really what has landed us where we are, fully committed to what we're doing at North Cobb Christian. I think it's important to say that if for some reason God called me to something else as my vocation, my husband and I are still very committed that our kids will continue their education at North Cobb Christian School. I'd love to be here for a long time, but even if I didn't work here, our kids would be here.
Yeah, no, that's outstanding. I think about, you mentioned North Star Church, where you and I go to church, and North Cobb Christian is really right around the corner, how close they are. And so listening to your story, it's no surprise that North Cobb Christian snatched you up when you were working over at the ministry there. And so Yes, I completely agree. I spent 20 years in education and was working at a school, just Mount Perrin Christian School, not far from where you are, and no longer working there, but my kids are still there because we
Mhm.
believe in Christian education. And so, let's talk about Christian education.
Yeah.
North Cobb Christian School has been in the community. I think what's early 2000s. The school started
1983. 1983.
1983, but has been in its current location since 1983.
Yeah, we
Okay,
spent about a half a year in a church basement, probably where you're getting your number from, though. 2000 was our first graduating class. So this will be
okay,
our 26th graduating class, but the school started in 1983.
gotcha. Okay, and in really on the line of Kennesaw and Ackworth, Georgia. You guys kind of
Yeah.
sit right there on that line, and so a very large staple in the community when you consider Christian education. And so let's talk about this idea of authentic Christian education. What does that mean when North Cobb Christian School is committed to this idea of authentic Christian education, and what does that look like in the classrooms, in on the soccer field, in carpool? Can you describe to our viewers and listeners what that looks like?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, probably one of the easier ways to describe what it looks like is to describe what it doesn't look like. It doesn't look like just a Bible verse that is tacked on in the midst of an English class. It doesn't look like a Bible verse on the basketball uniform or things like that. Those might happen, but we believe that an authentic Christian education is education that comes from the perspective that everything in life was created by God and has an order and design that is to be used for His glory and for the good of others. For instance, right now, our school is in the midst of Spiritual Emphasis Week. A lot of Christian schools have something similar to that. Our theme for this week is centered around worship. And we're talking about the fact that worship is not just the singing that happens at your church before, the main event of the preaching takes place, but worship instead is a lifestyle that is focused on recognizing and remembering who God is. In fact, we know that if you look back at the beginning of the word worship, it started with the word worthship, just the idea of assigning a particular worth to something. And we know that everybody is designed to worship. I'm a big Alabama fan. You go to Tuscaloosa on a Saturday afternoon in the fall, that's a picture of worship. They're worshiping, obviously, championship football there. But probably one of the easiest ways that we're able to draw our attention and the attention of our students back to that is to ask the question, and I ask my own kids this a lot. Students are used to me asking this, where did you see God at work today? And we believe that they should be able to look back at their math class, the experiment they did in their science class, the way that they handled something that came up in the midst of the soccer game, the way that they approached their practice on the violin, all as a way to learn how to experience and understand more of who God is. There's a zillion books out there that you can read. I would highly commend to you Kingdom Education by Glenn Schultz. And he starts with the reminder that parents are the primary disciplers of their kids. If you read scripture, parents are the ones who are to point their kids to Christ. They're the ones to teach them scripture, to invest in them, to pray for them, to encourage them. But we believe that the real power of a Christian school comes when families are doing that at home. And then in second place, they are partnering with an amazing church that is speaking and teaching and involving God's word. They're truthfully teaching the Bible. And then third, when a kid is involved in a Christian school where what is taking place at home and what is taking place at church is in alignment with what is taking place at school. And Glenn Schultz, who wrote that book, calls that the three-legged stool. And if you've ever sat on a three-legged stool, you want all three of those legs to be pretty strong. If one of them is a little bit wobbly, it throws off the whole foundation of the stool. And so just in my 20 years at North Cobb Christian, and then even people I know that have a large education background in Christian education, you can see the ones where we're firing on all cylinders. It's starting at home, it's being supported at church, and Christian education is just coming alongside just to help all of that continue moving forward in the life of a child. We believe that's what authentic Christian education is.
Yeah, well said. And you mentioned parents and their commitment to their children at home. I love your three-legged stool analogy, by the way. Certainly with school, church, and home all working together on the same value system, it maximizes the potential for spiritual growth in what we're trying to accomplish with our kids. Easier said than done, always, because we're dealing with broken people, right? And one of the things that I've come across in my experiences of working in Christian education and working with families who are considering Christian education is this idea that if I send my kids to this Christian school, then my child will never be picked on, that my child will never hear a swear word, that the teacher will never make a mistake. And obviously, as I say that out loud, it sounds silly, but the reality is there's just this picture of a standard that they expect life to all of a sudden become a lot easier and perfect. And so you mentioned your parents. Share with our listeners and our viewers how you might manage that myth, and I'll call it a myth because we know it's not true, and how you are more proactively with making sure that parents are aware that you're not a perfect school, but you are different than maybe some of the surrounding schools.
Yeah, for sure. I think I feel it even more now with my husband and I, with our own kids. I think more than anything, parents need encouragement these days. I think they need people who are going to come alongside them and offer resources and share ideas. Students who are new to North Cobb Christian in the high school, I interview them and their parents. That's very common. A lot of schools do that. But we sit around the table together and we talk about what would it look like for your family to partner with North Cobb Christian? What are your expectations of us? And what do we expect from you? I always like to lay out very clearly that there was only one perfect teenager, and his name is Jesus. And our goal as a school is to do everything we can to be like him, but he is not currently one of the 500 high school students that is at North Cobb Christian. So we actually go into it expecting that students are going to make mistakes. We believe that students are going to make mistakes, and we believe they're going to make mistakes, and that's how they learn and how they grow. What we have to do in concert, in partnership with our parents, is figure out which of those mistakes are very age and developmentally appropriate that we can work with and we can partner together and we can grow from. And ultimately, what are those things that just don't fit? Where maybe can we not work together? And can we build a bridge to work that out? I also think it's important for them to know that just as Jesus was the only perfect teenager, Jesus was also the only perfect adult. And they can expect that as they are working with our faculty and staff, even as incredible as they are, there are going to be things that come up that might not be ideally how we wanted them to be. But if we were all starting from the perspective of partnership with the home, the church, and the school, then we believe that when those bumps in the road come up, we actually have a lot more in common than we do that we don't agree about. And so that really provides a great starting point in those conversations, just to help folks see you're not putting your kids here to keep them safe from the world. We actually believe that you're putting your kids here to train them for the world that we believe they should be very engaged in. The Great Commission itself that Jesus left us with said, go into all the world. He didn't say, separate yourself, exclude yourself from all the world. But we believe that the Great Commission indicates there's some training that needs to take place. And, you have families who say, I'm not quite sure if I can afford it. Maybe I'll let my kid go to the public elementary school and then I'll bring them over for those difficult middle and high school years. We believe the elementary school is where that foundation is laid. When you think about the middle school and the high school years, we believe that's where you start building the house, where you start framing things up. And so we really believe wherever possible, your best scenario for a kid. We're a K-3 to 12th grade school. And this year in my graduating class, I'll have 20 some odd kids out of 100 that have been here since K-3, K-4, K-5. We know what we know about those kids. We know what they've been exposed to. We believe they've had a chance to go all the way through. And we would just encourage our parents, don't say you can't do it. Don't say you have these myths or these things. Come look. Come tour our campus in middle school and high school. Have your kid come shadow for the day. Come spend a day. I can't protect them from the real life of what takes place in our high school. If they come shadow for the day, they can see what it's really like.
Yeah, absolutely. The best way to get a feel for who a school is and what they are looking to accomplish is to get on campus, and feel the warmth or the lack thereof, maybe,
Yeah.
to hear in the classrooms, identify class size, to hear from the folks, see the smiles on the kids' faces, or whatever's happening. And I love your word partnership, because that ultimately is what I believe parents should be seeking when they are looking to partner with a school, whether it be public,
Right.
private, charter, hybrid, online, whatever it is. It's much more of a risk to drop and go, if you will. I'm going to
Yeah.
drop, at the bus stop or on the curb of the school, and then I'll pick you up 6.5, 7 hours later. We as parents can maximize the potential for our kids when we are one of those strong legs on that three-legged stool. And so I love that word partnership. You mentioned that North Cobb Christian is a pre-K 3 through 12th grade school, that you had 20 some odd kids that have been there the entire time.
Yeah.
Obviously, a school that starts that young and goes all the way through high school graduation is more in tune with a private school, because there are not many public schools that are designed that way. And so can you speak to the favor that shows when parents are willing to partner with a school and their children at a young age, and then move all the way through the lower school, the middle school, and the high school, and some of the benefits that they may realize, especially in a Christian school environment?
Yeah, for sure. And as you know, I sit here as the high school principal, but this is where I'll put my mom hat on. Both of my
Yeah.
kids started here in K-3, and they have had very different experiences. One child is a girl, one is a boy. They have different paths, different plans. But based on the scope and sequence that we have here at North Cobb Christian School, academically, athletically, artistically, and then student life, which we believe kind of encompasses all of spiritual formation, relationship building, things like that, all of it first starting on that foundation of a biblical worldview. We believe the best opportunity that you have to really allow that to unfold, to build a foundation that's very solid, to begin building on it to the point where, I mean, if you stick with that construction analogy, it's your K-3 teachers that are starting to mix up the concrete just a little bit. And then you're starting to see this foundation. Middle school kids are really, I mean, you're teaching the skills early on. Middle school, they're kind of starting to figure out, what am I good at? And then in high school, we believe that you are beginning to really understand what are your gifts and talents. What are you passionate about? And where do those things collide? And where those things collide, we believe that's God's calling on your life. I firmly believe that when our kids walk across the stage at graduation, there's a lot that is still to be decided. We used to say that we develop students' full potential to impact the world for Christ. Several years ago, we decided that was a little presumptuous of us to think that they'd be there at 18 years old. But we believe that if we have given our kids the tools that they need to be successful, that when they walk off that graduation stage, they'll know the next step. Then they'll know how to find the next step after that. And for the large majority of our kids, that is at a college or university. And a lot of them, it is a Christian college or university, because that's something that continues to be very important for them. But we also recognize in the day and age that we're living in, now more than ever, we're in need of people to go into the trades. We have kids who might take a gap year to do missions or to travel or things like that. We have a number of kids who will go into the military or immediately into the workforce. We believe our job is to get them ready at each stage for the next stage. And so that's where we believe if you see it through, you're going to get to see all those pieces and parts developed. But we also don't believe it's too late if you join us over the course of high school. Ninth grade's a big entry year. There's a lot of people who come to us after their school ends in eighth grade, or maybe they're coming from public school. I have a lot of kids who come to us in 11th grade. We believe however long you're here, that's a really valuable experience.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you pointed that out, because that is, you don't have to start in kindergarten or pre-K3 and go, the private school opportunities, North Cobb Christian School opportunities are there no matter what grade a child is in. And so thank you for sharing that perspective. And, for those, my youngest son is at his school since kindergarten, and he's in 7th grade now. And there is something special as a dad, to know his level of comfort and security and how well the people at the school know him, and what that means. Not to say that, again, you can't accomplish great things if you move into a new area or start a school later on, but it is special to be able to be on that one campus for that length of time. Shifting gears, I want to ask you a question with regards to, again, getting back to parents. Parents who are out there and considering making a decision or a change on the school that their kids attend, or they have young children and they're starting to make decisions on, am I going to go to public school? Am I going to go to private school? They're looking at, the different ratings online. They're talking to their neighbors. They're, looking at websites and all those different types of things. And so from your perspective, Megan, as a high school principal, as a mom who's raising children in the Cobb County area, what words of advice or encouragement would you give to parents when they are in that space of trying to make a decision on what's the best school for our family and for my children?
Yeah. Well, first and very humbly, I would say pray about it. You really need to pray and ask the Lord to reveal to you what are the things that your kid really needs. That's one thing I try and bring up in all the new family interviews. Nobody knows their kid better than the parents. And so I've sat in our elementary interviews where our elementary principal will ask a parent, what kind of teacher does your kid need? They're looking to kind of match up different things there. And then, of course, in middle school and upper school, they're going to have lots of different types of teachers. And so I would encourage a family. I do think our very best draw to North Cobb Christian is always going to be word of mouth. Our families that are posting things on social media that their kids are involved in, or they got to do, or they learned at school today, that's always going to be huge. But I just can't stress enough how important it is to get on campus. And throughout the year, we have several campus preview days, open houses. We will do a tour any day of the week. Like I mentioned already, our middle school and upper school students, we strongly encourage them to come for a shadow day. Mm-hmm. And basically you're just paired with an existing student. We check out to kind of learn what are some of your interests, and we try and pair you with someone that has the same interests. But we really just put them into the day and give them a chance to see the kids, hang out. We love when they can come on chapel day. They eat lunch with us. I'll never forget 2 years ago, I've got a boy that's in 11th grade now. The day he shadowed just randomly happened to be our day. We're doing Winterfest dodgeball. We had an activity schedule. So for the last hour and a half of the day, we just played dodgeball. I think he enrolled like the next week. I mean, who wouldn't want to go to dodgeball school? Awesome. But I think it's just a matter of getting here, getting on campus, taking the time to do that. And we have so many families over the years that they'll say, I felt something different here. And as much as we'd like to say, oh yeah, that's just what we do, it's not. We know that is the Holy Spirit that might be prompting a family and drawing them in. And we believe he does that because of, just like you said, with your own kids, with my own kids, our teachers here, they know my kids really well. Yeah. And they also know our family really well. And they know when to press in to maybe higher accountability for my kids if there's something they need to be on top of that they're not, or to reach out for some encouragement. They're going to notice, hey, if my kids are working a little harder or they've overcome some particular obstacle. And what the hallmark of our school is our teacher's going to take the step and they're going to reach out to say, hey, this is really awesome. I just want to celebrate this with you guys. Or something seems off. Is everything okay? How could I help? And we have had both of those lots of times off and on over the years, because this is a place where your kids are known. And I think if you'll take the step, come to open house, come in shadow, that's what you'll feel, is what it's like to be noticed and known.
Yeah. And you said it earlier, it starts with relationship.
Yeah.
Uh, it starts with relationship. And so as parents are considering decisions for their kids' education and they're doing school tours and asking questions, I've always impressed upon them, please make sure that you get an understanding of how the children are treated and respected, and what they do to cultivate relationship, whether it's an 11th grade chemistry teacher or a second grade classroom teacher. And
Yeah.
so I appreciate you sharing that. All right. I'm watching the clock here and it's cruising by. And so I want to real quick have you talk a little bit about the area in which North Cobb Christian School is located. As I said earlier, it's kind of right on that line between Kennesaw and Ackworth, Georgia. You've been in that area for quite a while. And so for those folks who may be listening or watching that are not familiar with the Northwest Atlanta area, Cobb County, and certainly Kennesaw and Ackworth, I'd love to just share maybe a sneak peek and some perspective based on what Megan Strange has learned and enjoyed about the area. And so give me a favorite restaurant that you go to often or that your family really likes.
Yeah, I think we. I'll go ahead and admit right up front, we're downtown Ackworth people. We live downtown in one of the historic homes. We are big Henry's fans. We were here right when Henry got started 25 years ago, and was down the street from where his location is currently. So most of our big life moments are celebrated at Henry's.
Cool.
But we have just really loved, I think our mayor here, Tommy Alligood, has done a beautiful job over the last 20 years and really revitalizing Ackworth, making it so family friendly. I mean, his number one focus is quality of life. There is a lot to do here. Our family, we're really big into the outdoors. We're big lake people. We love water sports, and we can have our boat in the water within about 10 minutes from our house, and we keep it at our house. So it's nice. There's lots of spots to get in, but we love sports. There's so much to do athletically around here with the arts. But we are big Ackworth people. I love to walk. I'm not a runner, but I love to walk. And almost every afternoon, you can find me about 30 minutes up and down Main Street in Ackworth. And it's just a place where people are going to stop and speak. They're going to wave. You're going to know people when you walk into a restaurant or you walk into a store. It's just a friendly place. I moved to Ackworth 10 days after I graduated from college in December of 2000. And it would definitely have to be a move of God for me to move somewhere else. We love it here. It's home.
Yeah, no, it is awesome what the mayor has done over these last 2 decades to revitalize that town and kind of keeping in step with what's happening with a lot of towns across Metro Atlanta. Over the course of these last 20 years, creating more of a community feel, authentic restaurants, local restaurants, shops, and things of that nature. You mentioned Henry's. I'm also a big fan. Love the Louisiana Cajun flair. I've got taste buds that love the spicy food, and he does a great job there. So thank you for sharing that. Megan, before we go, I'd love to just offer you kind of the final word here. Anything that you would like to share before we head out with our viewers and listeners?
Yeah, I think more than anything, just as we're talking about families, I think now more than ever, when you consider all the different things that are competing for the heart's, the mind's attention and the heart's affection of your child, I just think that Christian education is a very underutilized resource. And I would just encourage families not to miss out. And I would encourage you, even financially, folks might look at it and say, oh, I don't know if I can do that. I would encourage you to take the long view and say, I don't know that you can afford not to do that. When you think about what are you trying to build into your child, what are your long-term goals? One thing my husband and I did recently that I would strongly encourage every parent to do is to find some parents that are farther down the path than you are. Their kids are grown, and you notice that they have a really good relationship with their kids. And I would encourage you, take them out for a meal, buy them a cup of coffee, and ask them, what did you focus on when you were raising your kids? And as you look back on that, what are you pleased that you did? What do you see them doing with their own family? And that has really given my husband and I some encouragement and some inspiration for things that we're doing with our own kids. But one of the number one things that we heard that most families wish they had done more of was more of discipling and raising their kids with a keen eye towards spiritual formation. And so I'm so grateful in the areas where I'm going to fall short. I can count on North Cobb Christian School to be an amazing partner in this process to help fill in those gaps, not to be the primary discipler, but they are certainly going to fill in the gaps and support what we're already doing at home.
Yeah, well said. Thank you, Megan. Megan Strange, upper school principal at North Cobb Christian School, authentic Christian education. If you are interested in learning a little bit more about it, you can look them up online, North Cobb Christian School, located in Kennesaw, Georgia. And echoing what Megan says, if you have a deep desire to truly intentionally do what's best for your children, academically, socially, emotionally, but also spiritually, consider seeking out a Christian education. And so with that said, I want to thank you all for being a part of this podcast. Megan, thank you for being a part of this podcast. I greatly appreciate it. And I wish you all a great day and God bless.